Have you ever wondered what's required to remove the entire side of a shipping container? In this video, we're going to show you a couple different methods on how to structurally reinforce the container to allow you to remove an entire side. And a lot of people would be interested in doing this when they're wanting to take two containers and putting them together. Follow along. I'm Channing McCorriston, the container guy. We here have a 20-foot shipping container that we're modifying. It's actually a hazardous materials storage unit, and so this customer is going to be leaving this side wide open, kind of like a horse shelter. And because of that, we are putting containment pans inside here. So we're going to have about 7.5 inches of subfloor in here, and that's the reason why in this unit we have a floor. Or we've left some of the corrugation and have a 2x3 HSS. And so there's a couple different ways that you can remove large sections of shipping containers and bring that structural integrity back. One of them, if you're planning on cutting the wall completely out and taking the corrugations right down to the floor level, the floor is going to sag and you need to bring structure back to the floor. And you can do that by taking 3/4 inch thick flat bar, say a 5-inch flat bar, and welding that right into the bottom channel. That's one method of doing that. You can fold another channel and weld that up to it. That would create a smaller and a larger channel. You could create a box section. That'll bring some rigidity back to this floor, but the maximum span that these floors kind of want to handle, the maximum, would be about 10 feet prior to needing reinforcement. And so floor is step one. If you're putting this container on a concrete foundation or something, a lot of people in one video, they say pour a concrete pad and just chisel some holes out where the corner castings go so that everything's sitting nice and level. Another method is taking 12 mil or 1/2-inch flat bar and welding it to the bottom of the channel. And that's going to stop that 1/2-inch sag from happening. But yeah, basically make sure your foundation's done. Whenever you're building something, start with your foundation and then look up. And above us here, we got another method of supporting this. And this, it's really interesting to note. I think this is a 1/8 11 gauge mild steel that we've laser cut and folded into a J channel. So we come down on the inside of the can, we come down 1 inch, we go over 2, and then up 8. And that J channel, that is structural enough to handle this span. We've also folded it forward and downwards in this instance just as a rain drip. So if any driving rain, the tiniest bit doesn't drip back into these pans. So we're just giving them, straight down rain protection. But this here, instead of a rain drip there, you could continue that profile all the way up past the container and then have like a couple J's and put a ridge cap over there. And that's going to be your sealant. And we've done that before with double wide 20s, and it seemed to work well. So, but one thing to note when you look up here is that header, we were jacking up on the roof as we cut this wall out, and that header has a bit of a camber to it still. So after we installed this header, it didn't even sink back down to level. So this thing's pre-sprung or pre-loaded, ready for snow load. If a ton of weight gets up on there, it's only going to sink back down to level, but it's not going to concave downwards. One thing to note there is if you're doing two containers and putting them together, you make sure that you have the same amount of tension on one or the other, or one's going to be higher than the other. So you want to be cautious on how many cranks of the jack or whatever you're using for teleposts, that you're bracing this thing up properly. But I know there's a ton of interest. We got 4 million views on the previous video doing a double wide. I'm sorry that this isn't a perfect double wide kit, but it'll get some people in the right direction on how to create headers or footers that allow you to span the full distance of containers. Another thing to note is that this system down on the floor here of leaving some corrugation and then the HSS, that also works up top. And so we do have another container in our yard that we've done that system up top. It's a 53. We're not able to span the full 53 distance, but I want to jump over there and show you that right now. So let's go. So I just want to talk about 53s and the structure of them. They're a little bit different of an animal as 20s and 40s, which are the same design all across the board, no matter where you buy them. 53s, they vary in design, but one thing that's common is they all have structural posts at the 40-foot mark, and that's because all of the equipment at rail yards and ports, our lifts only stretch to 40 feet, and so they need structure at the 40-foot mark, and that needs to be able to handle all the weight inside this thing to allow our lifts to handle these things. And so a lot of people think, oh, I'll get a 53-footer and cut the whole side out, and then I have a 900 square foot container home. Well, no, you can't do that, because you need to leave the structure where the structure is. And so you can see here, this is a prime example. We've left the structure, we've cut out 5 feet of the corrugation and the 6.5 foot extension on this side, and then we've continued cutting out the corrugations all the way down. And so that's one thing to note. Another thing about 53s that's special is the bottom channel. And so here, the bottom channel is 12 inches tall. And so the floor depth is only about 5.5 inches. And so this channel is 6.5 inches up off the wood floor, and that's where the corrugation started. And so if you cut into the structural channel of this thing, it's going to sag beyond repair. There's hardly any way of bringing this back to structural integrity. What we've done in the past to do it is we've done a small flat bar inside this little channel here, and then we've also added a 2x5 HSS rec tube, and that has assisted us in spanning this and removing the steel. But it starts to get expensive. There's a lot of steel there and a lot of welding. In this instance, we're lucky. Again, it's a HAZMAT project, and so the containment pans and bar gridding are going to sit nicely right in here. It works out perfect. But even in this, with this system, we've went to a 2x6 header, so we've went higher on these, and we've spanned all the way across only about 18 feet. So similar to the span as a 20-footer, we didn't get greedy and try to go the full 38 feet because, yeah, you're pushing the limits of the span, and then you probably have to maybe even beef up that header a little bit more. But the process for us to do this is we cut out a small chunk of corrugation in the center and install this center post first thing right from floor to ceiling. So that holds this thing up while we're cutting the rest of the panels out. Then we'll drop both the side panels and the final end panel, and then start welding in the HSS. It's a bit tricky there. We gotta, hold it up nicely with our forklift, get it in place, tacked in. But we only do all the tacking outside. We get this thing so it's structural, and then bring it into our shop and do all the final seal welding with the MIG out of the wind. It's just a lot easier. And then we're finding with these 53s that the steel is paper thin. So yeah, this here is an example of cutting all the sides, or a majority of the sides out of a 53-foot container. This here, if you could maybe do your plumbing or your electrical or mechanical or something in the floor and leave that bottom channel, that's going to be intelligent. But this method of framing the header, it takes away from your headroom. And so the other system that we utilized on 40-foot containers, where we had the header come up above the top tubing, that's full height clearance inside the can, and obviously better because now even inside the container we're down 10 inches or so. And so yeah, it's difficult to trim around that, but this is a way to do it, and it's a lower cost way to do it rather than the expensive double wide header kit that we showcased in that 40-foot video. But give you guys options, and might be a better do-it-yourself method. So if you got value from this video, please do us a favor and give it a like. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe to our channel and ring that bell for notifications. And as always, check us out at tcg.ca. Hope you learned something.